Good afternoon, everyone. All right. First up. Office of, I don't know what, let's see. We need to either recede or concur.
So, you are secondary on this. This is the cross file to Senate Bill 85. The amendments conform the House bill to be the same.
Wait a minute. This looks like Senate Bill 66.
Oh, 60, sorry. Senate Bill 66, this would be a concurrence. The House bill is also currently in the Senate. Finance is primary on both of these bills. So the amendments to Senate Bill 66 change the name of the new office to be the Office of Statewide Broadband. And they also keep the Office of Rural Broadband.
So this bill would lay out the functioning of the deployment of the $300 million that we put forth with the supplemental budget bill that we have negotiated. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yes. Yeah, it's an Office of Statewide Broadband, and the Senate had repealed a board and transferred a fund. The House amendments maintain that Office of Rural Broadband Assistance Fund.
Okay, so what do we need to do, though?
You would be voting to, if you're okay with the posture that the House took, you would be voting to concur on House Bill 66.
No. It's House Bill 97.
Sorry, Senate Bill 66.
All right, so we're going to concur with 97.
You would concur with Senate 66, I'm sorry. And you would be favorable on House Bill 97.
Okay. Do we need to put anything in any? All the posture is right.
Concurring with Senate Bill 66 makes it look like House Bill 97. So Senate Bill 66, if you're okay, would be a concur.
Got it.
Move, we move.
All those in favor?
That time.
All right, done. House Bill 421.
House Bill 421 is the income tax distribution to tax clinics for low-income Marylanders. The House did not agree with the amendments the Senate put on the bill and has appointed a conference committee to work out the differences.
Senator Zucker?
Tell me what the differences are at this point, because just tell me. So my understanding, the differences are, it's now going to be moved from the general fund to the abandoned property fund, and then it still has a $250,000 mandate, and then in the out years it has money coming out of the general fund, but it's may include $250,000. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
We'll accept it.
And the third versus 40, 20.
And that's and they're concurring with the Senate.
No,
yeah.
they disagreed with the Senate position.
So they're now doing a third.
No, they want to keep it at 40, 20.
They were not supposed to do that.
Well, they didn't say which part of the amendments they disagreed with. They just disagreed with the amendments. So there isn't any level of specificity as to what they agreed with or didn't agree with.
Sounds like we need to appoint a conference committee.
Yeah.
All right.
Senator Zucker. Senator Zucker, Senator Elfreth, and who's the? Oh, Senator Corman. Looking for education people. Okay.
Yeah, I just now, as we were walking in, got another concurrence for Senate Bill 660. This was the chairman's bill dealing with the Maryland Humanities Council and the money coming out of the state lottery fund for the 150,000, I believe it is. There was a printing error when the bill went over to the House, and the House has corrected the printing error that was in the bill. So I would suggest that you want to concur with the amendments that the House sent over.
Let's go to conference. All those in favor of concurring? All right. Okay.
Ask a question.
Please.
We have a lot of House bills here. I'm just wondering if the House is working as hard to get our stuff out over there as we are to get theirs out.
Well, as former House members, I'm sure you know that they always work as hard as we do, right?
Well,
look,
times aren't like they used to be.
I can tell you this because I've been tracking a number of things, and the answer is they have been behind us, but they seem to be picking up.
Okay.
We're inspiring him.
And I don't mind that. It's as long as there isn't an attitude there.
I don't think there is. I think
okay.
they're moving.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yep. You bet. All right, we've got a bunch of things where we're second on. Let's get that chart. Starting with House Bill 15.
House Bill 15, B&T is secondary. This is the cross-file to the Governor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. There is an amendment to conform the House bill to the posture that the Senate bill was in, and I believe the Senate bill just passed third reading this afternoon.
Okay, so, yep, the bill as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. House Bill 867.
House Bill 867, this is the cross-file to Senate Bill 699. This is the bill for the Baltimore Regional Neighborhood Initiative Program. The Senate bill extended the funding requirement by 5 years. The House version just makes it a permanent funding requirement. So before you is the House bill, your secondary on for EHE.
Okay, so did they changed our bill to conform to theirs?
Yes.
So is this a Senator McCray special?
Senator McCray is the Senate sponsor, yes.
You good with this? What's that?
Not sure if that was good or bad.
Well, I'll tell you, I sat down here, looked over, and I thought, I am not passing another McCray bill.
I'm glad it says Delegate Smith.
Well, then it must be okay. You like it the way it is?
Yes, sir.
All right, all those in favor? All right. So the first one was Rosa Pep, right? No, we don't need people on this. That's right.
EHE will be.
Yep, got it. House Bill 1239.
House Bill 1239 is a bill, again, EHE is primary. The bill would establish the appraisal gap from historic redlining financial assistance program in DHCD. The program would provide financial assistance to affordable housing developers working in low-income census tracts.
Whose bill was this? We got one over here?
The bill over in the Senate, I believe, is Hayes.
Oh, it's right the next one
It's
down.
the next bill, yeah.
All right, so we trying to conform to both of these together?
So EHE voted the House bill favorable, and the Senate bill, they did amendments to conform it to the posture that the House bill is in.
Move the bills as amended.
All those in favor? Everybody. Everybody loves it. All right. 1211.
House Bill 1211, out of finance, there was no cross-file. This one is for the TEDCO. In regulation. There has been a pre-seed builder fund for a number of years. This bill essentially just codifies that, as well as the purpose of the fund is basically to develop startup companies, and they provide kind of consulting services to help with those early stage companies. Page 3 of the bill does establish 3 years worth of mandated funding, starting at $5 million in 23, 6.2 in 24, and 7.5 in 25.
All right, how do we feel about this one? All good? All's in favor? All right. 1245.
All right, House Bill 1245, you all discussed this yesterday. Today there is an amendment. I didn't have a chance to copy it for you, but it's pretty straightforward. You'll recall this bill extended the pre-qualification for the guaranteed access grant to ninth graders in addition to 7th and 8th. The amendment would also extend it to grade 10. And then pertaining to the Next Generation Scholars Program, as it came over from the House, the required funding was reduced from $5 million to $2.5 million, beginning in 23 and thereafter, and the amendment would increase that back to current law of $5 million. And the amendment is from Senator Rose Pep, who is the one who wanted to look at it further yesterday.
Sure.
Basically, as Erica said, the House cut it in half from what it is, and they didn't include the 10th grade. And I got with Senator Pinsky and said I was interested in offering this amendment here, and I also talked with Delegate Barnes, who chairs the Education Subcommittee and Appropriation. They're all fine with this.
Well, then it must be good. All those in favor? All right. Okay, now we're moving on to voting list number 29. 278. Now, I know Senator Rosapap and Senator Edwards got together. From what I understand, that might not have come out with a perfect solution. So we might have a little bit of opposing views on this. So why don't you go ahead and describe it, Eric?
Okay. To refresh your memory, this has to do with the job creation tax credit, and effectively kind of in terms of which positions would qualify the employer for the tax credit. If it was filled prior to October 1, 2021, then current law in terms of what the criteria were to be a qualified position remains in place. However, for positions filled on or after October 1, 2021, the bill includes the existing criteria as well as additional criteria in terms of, and let's see, if you want to follow along, this is in your floor system. It includes, full-time, definite duration, minimum pay of increasing it from current law of 120% of state minimum wage up to 150% of the state minimum wage. Also about providing career advancement training, right to collectively bargain, paid leave, eligible for unemployment insurance benefits, workers' compensation, health insurance, retirement benefits, and the rest is current law. And then the last alteration to the program is, this looks mostly conforming to me, is in terms of the definition of a revitalization area, it adds a Tier 1 county, which would broaden it to rural counties. And
Yeah.
that's the adjustments to the program.
Which one of you want to just tell about your meetings together?
Go first, or let me go first? Okay, thank you. And I appreciate Senator Edwards getting together with me on this. And he made 3 suggestions, which he can describe.
Cam.
Yes. But frankly, I'm sorry?
You weren't on yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I on?
Don't touch, you're fine.
Okay. He had 3 suggestions for amendments, which he can describe, which I don't believe, and the proponents of the bill, both in the House and the folks who are working on the bill, didn't find acceptable. The purpose of the bill is to make sure that when we provide this kind of subsidy, that we're doing it
to get good jobs. And doesn't say anybody has to do any of the requirements. They don't have to provide health insurance. They don't have to pay the 150% of the minimum wage. They don't, all those conditions, but they don't have to take the money either. And this just says, if you're going to get the credit, you're going to get the state subsidy, we want to focus on, in my view, higher quality jobs. The Tier 1 issue was designed to expand the areas in which there is a deeper subsidy. Outside targeted areas, depressed areas, plus the Tier 1 counties, to get the smaller counties, the credit is $3,000. But in those areas, the bill, as it came over from the House, makes it $5,000. So it's a deeper subsidy, basically in lower income areas is the best way that I would describe it. So I basically think it makes sense. And look forward to hearing from Senator Edwards.
Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did talk, appreciate it, talked, I guess, several times. I've talked to my colleagues on the minority side here and mainly the rural side. I guess to say that we see this structured more for the, don't take this, I guess, the correct terminology, the big boys, big counties in the state who can afford this stuff. We have a couple concerns with it. We have a problem with the 150%, which we have charts that show that really increases the wage if you participate in this considerably. And in these small counties, most of these companies aren't going to want to pay two separate ones, and then after a while you got to bring them back in, and people are going to get upset because these 10 people are making $3 more an hour and I'm making or whatever. Also, unless there's an amendment to this, it says affords the employee the right to collective bargain for wages and benefits, and it also says offers employer provided health insurance benefits with a monthly premium that do not exceed 8.5% of employees' net monthly earnings, which, in other words, we're dictating to companies, and I'm not an insurance expert, but there might be, maybe you can't get insurance that's 8.5% or less, and so therefore you wouldn't be eligible. So my suggestion was to my colleague, just make this bill for Tier 2 counties and leave the existing law for Tier 1 counties.
So, did I hear right, though, about the Tier 1 part?
And it
The
might,
Tier 1 part in the bill increases
the subsidy.
the value?
Yeah. Yeah. We got charts. There aren't that many that even under the Tier 1 scenario, under the program as it exists, have utilized this. There's several, but not a whole lot. And in talking to people, we don't think hardly anybody would participate in this. So, again, in talking to my colleagues, our thought would be leave the existing program just for Tier 1 counties and make this bill just for Tier 2 counties. Otherwise, we can't support it.
Okay.
I know the intent is to provide good opportunities for employees. We think the existing program does that. And we think that by doing this with the increase in the things I just mentioned there, that even the companies that participate now probably wouldn't participate in the future.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Senator Rosepap?
I don't have any additional thought. I think we've aired the issues.
Right. So you fundamentally believe it should stick the way it is?
I think it should. I mean, my argument would simply be is I want good wages for people in Tier 1 counties too. So, and I know Senator Edwards does as well, but I mean, that's the issue is we're going to put state money in it. Shouldn't we use the state money to drive up, wage and benefit standards? That helps everybody in the county. The more folks earn, the more they can spend in the county. So that's my point of view.
Sure.
120 is more money too. Not as much as 150, but it's still more money than the existing.
Senator Corderman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to my friend from District 1, I think an additional part of the concern, as we spoke about it last, is in our part, especially the rural areas where we have the neighboring states, and there's such that very close proximity that it really kind of puts us a little bit of a competitive disadvantage to some of our neighbors. And then when they try to locate these things in to utilize those programs, they'll just go a couple miles up the road and just go to Pennsylvania or West Virginia. So that's been a lot of our challenge out there as well. So thank you.
Okay. Senator Eckert?
I was pretty much going to say the same thing. I mean, if you have salaries that are up at that level, that's great. But in many of our areas, that's not where it is. We're not there yet. So I would just agree with Senator.
Okay, you know what, I think I want to take a day to think about this. So we'll hold that one for now. Senator Young?
You're considering Tier 1 and Tier 2?
Excuse me?
Yes, there is, and Erica can do it for you.
Erica should have it.
In my head, but Erica can.
Sorry,
Liz-
the list of Tier 1 counties? I do have that. Where is it? I got a stack of paper here. It's in the fiscal notes.
Can we just get it for him afterwards?
Yeah, I can get it
Because
to you
we're gonna hold-
afterwards.
we're
It's in
holding
the,
it.
it's in the fiscal notes, so, yep.
Okay. House Bill 1255.
Okay, House Bill 1255, this one deals with two property tax credits, the homestead program and the homeowners program. Essentially what this bill is doing is creating a notification process and system to notify homeowners of potential eligibility. Specifically, the notice requirements start with the contract of sale, that it would require to have a statement in there that you may qualify. And then after the sale, the Department of Assessments and Taxation has to mail notice that they may be eligible for it. Then at
they already
settlement,
do that?
there's, what's that?
Don't they already do that?
So the current law is definitely after the sale. So as soon as possible after the sale, then they have to provide notice. This adds notice to different points along the process of purchasing it. So also in the contract, also at settlement, after the sale, and then the document that needs to be presented at settlement needs to be available on its website. So there's multiple notice requirements for potential eligibility. Then there's a couple of special sections of the bill that would require the department to contract with what is called a usability consultant, basically a look at all the public information and materials for user ease and understanding, and then come back with recommendations. And then another special section of the bill that the House added that would require basically a work group with Ways and Means, the Department of Assessments, Taxation, and the Comptroller to look at ways of simplifying the definition of gross income, which is currently used for the homeowner's property tax credit, because it is, there's a lot of criteria for calculating the income for that program. So it looks like they added an interim study. And that's the bill.
So I'm trying to understand all the different notification points. Because I think some of it is good. I'm just wondering if they're going a little too far. So, and when you use the word sale, it means something different to me than to you probably, as somebody who works in real estate. So it's at the beginning of it's got to be in the contract that's presented for the offer.
Well, the language doesn't get that specific. I mean, on page 2, it just says a contract for the sale of residential property shall include a statement saying that they may qualify.
Okay.
That's all that says.
The reason was there any, we don't have a file with testimony on this, do we? Because I actually don't mind the idea if there's a statement in the base contract, but if it's requiring another piece of paper, it's a whole nother story. These contracts are already 50 pages long, and
The bill is agnostic as to, it's a one-sentence statement that needs to be included in the contract. It doesn't talk about any sort of addendums or anything
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Okay, so in the contract, and then
And then,
at settlement,
a document that shall be presented to the buyer at settlement.
okay? And then I know they get mailed.
And then, yeah, current law is they do get mailed after, so the department is required to give notice to each individual who acquires residential property within a reasonable period of time after the individual acquires the property.
That's already in law,
Correct.
so it doesn't change that. That's
Well, what they're doing in this is, it actually kind of narrows the scope of who the department needs to give notice to, because it then says, has to give notice to people who have acquired the property, and this is new language, and has not applied for the credit under this section. So potentially that narrows the number of people
I
that
see.
the department has to give
That
to.
makes sense. That's good sense. And is that it? And then the other parts are just studies related to that?
Yeah, the other parts are studies. There's one thing, just making the document available on its website to be easily accessed.
Senator Griffith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I was looking at the fiscal note first, so some of these things may have been changed on the reprint. And I get the intent, so I'm not trying to harm, I'm trying to make sure
Yeah.
that if we're going to do it, it's done in a way that makes sense. I saw that on page 8 of the bill, and does it have a report that, or a study being done by Ways and Means, or does it now include budget and tax?
I didn't hear the last half
There
of the
was-
question.
Yeah, I heard that too.
There was something
Yes.
in the fiscal note that said there was a study that would be done by the Ways and Means Committee, and it didn't include budget and tax, so I was curious about that. And then the other piece was some of the dates in the bill seemed like they might need to be adjusted, and I didn't know if they had caught that. I looked at the agency testimony, and it seemed like some of the dates needed to be modified.
So, depending on which, the fiscal note, if you're looking at the third reader version, does reflect the bill as I described, because this is what the House adopted, so double check the version that you're reading there. That should be the only one. Yep. Just in the header, if it says third reading, then you know that that's corresponding to the bill as before you right now. And some of the, let's see, the House pertaining to the dates, the one that where it requires the department to hire a consultant to look at basically the usability of their documents by the consumer. The House did delay by 1 year the date for the department to submit that to the Budget and Tax Committee and House Ways and Means Committee. But the additional kind of summer study on the gross income issue, they do indeed just list the Committee on Ways and Means. It was.
That might be a blessing. It's weird. It's very unusual. Yeah, that's why it comes out.
That was a request of the chair of budget.
Right? So are you comfortable with the explanation of the dates and things?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we need to be included. So amend it with us included. I think it's a very noble cause in a lot of ways for both the average homeowners as well as individuals who are lower income. So it's got a lot of good to this. So, as amended, as I just described. All's in favor? Okay. What's this? Who loves this bill? Somebody's got to love it.
Yeah, exactly. So moved.
I just soon nod since I'm kind of in the industry. Not that there's any direct relationship to my business, but I'd rather not. Senator Eckert? Okay, 815.
House Bill 815 is a state agricultural land transfer tax application of non-agricultural use reduction and exemption bill. So it deals with the application of the state agricultural land transfer tax. If you'll recall, in 2019, the General Assembly repealed an exemption for the transfer tax. And there was an issue with the application of the exemption. There were people who entered into contracts for sale of land before July 1st, 2019, but never actually transferred the land until after July 1st, 2019. So when they entered the transaction, they thought that the exemption was in place, but then the exemption was taken away after July 1st, 2019. So, and the transfer of the land didn't occur until after that date. So what this bill would do was it would go back and say that it was the intent, basically, of the General Assembly that the application be applicable to contracts entered into after that particular date, and not the actual transfer of the land. So people who entered the contract but didn't transfer until after July 1st could then apply for and get a refund of the exemption amount.
How many people do you think this applies to?
Not many. It doesn't. It may. Fiscal note didn't put a number on it, but it's not enough to register for a number.
Okay, so
It's probably a couple people.
Yeah, clearly just trying to help a couple people who got jammed up.
Yep.
Confused. All in favor? Okay. Senator Edwards. I can tell you love that bill. Let's skip the next one for now. 804, because there's going to be more discussion. So 804.
804 this is the whistleblower reward program for taxes. So this would create a whistleblower program here in the state of Maryland, run by the comptroller, and the bill would well, does two things: creates the whistleblower reward program, but then also extends the time frame for which the comptroller can collect back taxes from 7 years to 10 years. So right now the comptroller can only go back 7 years, and this will allow him to go back 10 years. But it allows individuals who sign an affidavit identifying tax fraud to the comptroller. It allows them to receive a monetary award. And that monetary award would be between 15% and 30% of the taxes, penalties, and interest that the comptroller is ultimately able to collect from the person that was defrauding the state. The determination of the amount of the award is solely in the comptroller's discretion.
Who's got the crossfall of this bill? Anybody have a crossfall on this bill?
Yours truly, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, my goodness.
This must be number 25, right?
They all came to B&T.
So the two things this does two main things, right? So it extends the look back.
Extends the look back for what the comptroller can collect from 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And then it also creates the this new program for whistleblowers, so they can be rewarded for having identified fraudsters, I guess.
So how did this come about, Senator?
First, it's modeled after a federal program that already exists, so the feds already implement this. And then there was a big case when we did the
Exactly. In other words, it's the Same 30%, same 10-year look back?
It's very much modeled after the feds. It may be some small differences, Mr. Chair, but it's modeled after the feds. The second piece was that New York, when I had the testimony that came in, that one of the assistant attorney generals actually came in and talked about New York got the biggest payout from a person not a person, but an organization that was cheating on their taxes from that standpoint. So I saw it as a win-win when partnering with Julie Pavlich Carr.
Okay. Thought? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? One opposed? So do we not take up your bill before?
No, Mr. Chair, I've been very
Quiet about that. I figured I'd lay low in reference to moving the Senate bill this time.
Would you like your bill passed also?
If it's the deference of the chair is there. Thank you,
All
Mr.
those
Chair.
in favor? They're in the same posture, right?
No, we would need, so Senate
Ah.
Bill 9,
Ah.
916 will need conforming amendments. It's just a couple of strikes.
I think I might want to investigate that for a little bit. That's fine.
Okay.
Put them in the same posture. All those in favor? Okay, except for Senator Eckert. Yeah.
I know we already voted on it, but this is definitely if fraud is identified, right? Not in case someone just has back taxes and missed a payment.
That triggers for this, so that you're not like targeting low-income people for their taxes, but it has to be. I was thinking about what my colleague said. I'm gonna try to put it in another way, but the case has to be resolved, and then the payout would actually happen. So it's not like you're just saying that it happened. It has to happen, and they have to
I got it. So the case would have to be resolved, and the case determination was that it was fraudulent.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Not to be the live horse here, but it's really good because most big tax fraud cases come from whistleblowers. Because they're the ones that know the stuff. They tend not to be in the typical audits from the IRS or from the controller's office. This is actually a very significant improvement in the operation of government.
All right. 414. McCray, you got that last one, McCray. Or last two.
Oh, Senate Bill House Bill 414
Yeah.
deals with the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit Program. The House bill should be in the same posture as the Senate Bill 81, which was sent over. Just so you recall, this one requires that that if there's money available for the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit Program from the federal government, then it creates a mandatory appropriation of $5 million for
5 years.
What's that?
For 5 years.
For 5 years, yeah.
Okay, same thing. All's in favor? And McCray, you got that one too.
When I did the other ones.
Oh, you did it? Oh, okay. Oh, look at that.
I'm fighting for Southern Maryland.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Then that needs to happen. 310.
Yep, that's actually me. There's no name on the sheet, that's why it's blank. This is the exact match cross-filed to Senate Bill 323, which was on the floor today or yesterday. It's the
Okay.
arts
All's in
grant.
favor?
Mhm.
Okay. Senator Alfreth. Okay, then 904.
Senate Bill 904 is the sales and use tax-free period for university and college textbooks. Senator Salling has brought forward an amendment that would turn this into a study to look at the costs of doing the tax-free periods and
Okay, as amended, you good with this? All those in favor? Okay, Senator Solly, you got it. Okay, is there anything other than the Allegheny one left out there? Erica?
No.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Just wanted to bring clarity, if you don't mind, to the tax clinic bill that we didn't concur on.
Yes.
The Senate and the House have reached an agreement. They're going to, everything that I articulated before is happening to, I believe it would be our bill on the other side. Let's see. Yep. So everything that we talked about is happening in our bill on the other side. We're gonna not concur on the House bill. They'll fix it in the House, and we'll get it all worked out. But it's
So we're
gonna,
still going to we're still.
correct. I'm just letting you know that they're gonna.
But at the end, we're probably just going to pass your bill?
We're gonna pass both our bill. My bill is in the posture that we wanted. They're gonna agree with our amendments over here, and the House bill will be in the same posture eventually.
Okay. Thank you. Senator Solly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There was one bill that I was just asked, it's a veterans bill, and being the vice chair, they asked if it's possible. There's one that did come over here, HB 1311, that came from the House, but it's still in this committee, the Senate Bill 269. It's the property tax exemption, the disabled active daily duty service members, disabled veterans, and surviving spouse refund. You just wanted to know if they had a chance. Thank you.
What's the fiscal note on that?
What, can you say the bill number again, please?
It's HB 1311, Senate Bill 269.
I don't know that they have any real number.
So it allows a state, county, or municipality to provide a property tax refund to a disabled active duty service member, disabled veteran, or surviving spouse. Special fund expenditures increase.
Yeah, that's the one
There's
with the,
several counties that do it now.
I thought we did this before.
there was one specific to Montgomery County this year. And the bill he's talking about was in this committee last year as well.
But this one doesn't have a cross?
Yes, Senate Bill
No, it's not.
269.
269?
Correct.
Senator Ellis, yes.
Why do I feel like, what happened here?
No action has been taken on Senate Bill 269.
And it's just authorizing the counties?
The state.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's, we'll take this up tomorrow. Let's do a little research on it. Okay, so let's talk about House Bill 532.
So to remind you, House Bill 532 did a few things. It reduces the minimum average payout percentages for individual VLTs and the average gaming floor. So those the theoretical hold.
Let me step back for a second. This came in as an Allegheny only bill, right?
Yes, this came in as a
And
bill.
we got,
to-
what's the Senate bill on it? 452?
Okay.
452. And we haven't taken any action on that.
No.
Okay. House did, and then they did a lot of different things.
Right. The House added a bunch of different provisions, about 5 of them. And so the theoretical payouts were altered in an attempt to generate more VLT.
So the theoretical payouts are called the hold,
The hold.
right?
It then altered the hold harmless clause as it applies to Baltimore City and Anne Arundel County and Prince George's County.
Okay, could you explain that and explain what if they're holding it harmless by spreading out the cost across.
So right,
Explain that.
right now, for local impact grants from VLT operations in Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County, and Baltimore City, you take 18% off the top because that goes to the Park Heights neighborhood for the first 32 years of operations. You then take the 82% that's generated in those three counties that's part of the local impact grants. You throw all of it together into a pot, and you divide by 3. And then you look at how much did Baltimore City and Anne Arundel County receive in local impact grants in 2016, which I believe was the year before MGM went operational. And the Prince George's County third is then reduced to reimburse Baltimore City and Anne Arundel County to get them up to that number that they were in the year before MGM went operational. So Prince George's County's piece of the pie gets reduced in order to make up the difference for Baltimore City and Anne Arundel County. Baltimore City has gotten to the point over the years where they're now when you split up that third, they are actually over the number that they were getting in 2016 or the year before MGM went live. So Baltimore City doesn't get, in recent years, hasn't gotten any reimbursement from Prince George's County. The reimbursement is only coming from Prince George's County to Anne Arundel County, and I believe it's around $4 million this past year to get Anne Arundel County up to that point that they were at prior to MGM coming online. And I believe that number is, I think, 18 million is where they were at. So that's.
So what's the bill do?
So the bill says, instead of taking that slice from out of Prince George's County's piece of the pie and giving it to Anne Arundel County, let's take that $4 million and spread it across everybody who gets a distribution from the VLT proceeds. So everybody's piece of the pie is going to get reduced proportionally to make up that $4 million.
Everybody meaning other things other than that are in the distribution, other than the individuals.
Right.
Other than the 3 localities, it's everything else, isn't it? Like the Horsemen and all the.
Yep. The Horsemen, the
Purse,
casinos.
Everything is different.
Yes.
Everything will split up the cost.
So it really, when you think about the number that flows all the way through all those formulas, you take it off the top before it flows through the formulas.
I understand. Senator Young.
Why does Allegheny County care about that?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that they do.
I'm just wondering why it's
this is made. Allegheny didn't have this in their bill. The House came in and used this as a vehicle to do a bunch of stuff. Right. Right. So actually, what I wanted to do, and we're kind of we'll stick with this one for the moment. But I wanted to see, first off, did anybody have any problem or any discussion with this component of it?
I should also highlight here that the people that administer this are extremely concerned about how this mechanically would work because of the way the pie gets split up. There's so many agencies involved, and the money never is actually in one place because the casinos retain their share of it. It then gets sent over to lottery. Lottery sends a share to the racing commission. And so this would flip everything on its head as to how that distribution would work.
Senator Griffin.
See why we must have that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I can't speak to the very complex description that Mr. Bennett just laid out in terms of the mechanics. What I can say is that, you know, in this chamber, we have a wonderful history of revisiting issues that have been either poorly negotiated or found to have unintended consequences or whatever. And so receiving this bill with these amendments from the House, I've done a little bit of research on it. I was really surprised to see that the House committee passed it unanimously. And while there was some opposition on the floor, it wasn't in any way overwhelming. I do note that there is some opposition from, well, some folks laid off, a few folks didn't vote, but I guess what I would say is this is a recurring problem. I certainly don't want to hijack Allegheny's issue, but this is a recurring issue that's come up for several years impacting Prince George's County. I wasn't a part of the negotiation when it was done, but if there is a solution or a fix that somehow is less complicated and, as Matt described, quite a burdensome process for the implementers, I would be really pleased if we could explore that.
Any other comments about just the specific thing about the hold harmless? Okay, I'll assume that generally speaking, yes, Senator Young.
It seems to me the whole reason this was started was to let MGM come in and to be fair to the two that it was taking from. And one's gotten back where they were, the other one's getting close. And again, they took the business from there over there. So that's why they took the money from them. And it seems like it'll probably be gone in a year or two. So why do we want to get into messing with that whole formula?
Okay. Senator?
I got a question. Maybe I thought I understood, but maybe I don't understand it. So, are you saying, Senator Young, that when that happens, money would not be going from Prince George's? I'm confused.
Well, the agreement was that when each of those two casinos got back to the level they were, it stopped.
Is that right? That's what I was confused about.
Correct. So the fiscal year 16 level was 18.5 million for Anne Arundel, and Baltimore City was 759. Baltimore City was low.
But it basically automatically sunsets.
It sunsets once they get to the level
That
they
was
were
the
at
point
in
I missed.
2016.
Thank you.
And it seems like they're getting close.
At $4 million, it's not going to be a year or two, but it does decline every year as money increases. But I don't think it's going to be a year or two. I don't have the estimates, and fiscal year 20 throws everything out of whack because of the numbers being so low. But I don't think it's a year or two. But you're correct; it declines, and it declines over the years.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to say on that one. Let's go back to the hold thing, because I want to hear how people feel about the hold issue.
What is the hold? I didn't hear the number.
Yep.
So the hold, if you'll recall, right now, the lowest that a casino can set their hold on on an individual slot machine is 87%. The bill would take that number down to 85%. For the gaming floor as a whole, they need to have the machines configured in such a way that they hold 90%. The bill would allow them to take that configuration down to 88%.
Okay. Senator Alford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too obviously was not here when all of this was originally set up, but in folks' packets, you should have a letter from the Anne Arundel delegation with specific concerns about how this would impact the casino in Anne Arundel County, and I just asked the committee to please take a look at that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, what else does this bill do? Oh, sorry, Senator Zucker.
So the hold is just that's just the payout on the floor.
The hold and the payout are inverse. So the hold is how much the casino keeps. The payout is how much the machine is paying out.
Right.
So as the payout goes up, the player does better. As the payout goes down.
I have no problem with, and I don't think the Anne Arundel County delegation didn't express any concern about that. Right? It was the other piece. It was the maintenance and that percentage. Right?
Yes, I believe Anne Arundel County's issue was more along the lines of what was happening to the casino within Anne Arundel.
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So the bill also Oh, this one's easy. The bill also repeals a prohibition on building a hotel within 10 miles of the Ocean Downs facility. As you'll recall, that was also included in
Clearly,
the
we
sports.
like that one.
No discussion. The bill alters. No, right. The bill does leave in place the prohibition on miniature golf. The bill alters the Rocky Gap operator share after the first 10 years of operations to increase their operator share from 53% to 58%. And in conjunction with that, it also, Rocky Gap has 2% of the Rocky Gap VLT proceeds are going to lottery for administrative costs. Lottery only needs 1% of that, so it also takes that percentage point away from lottery.
So I'm looking at this chart. You said it goes from what?
I've got 53% to 58%.
Why does this say 60%?
I'll have to look into that. It should be going to 53. I think because of the way Rocky Gap's 2.5% on capital improvements is, 2.5% is baked into their pie. It alters the numbers. I don't think the House did exactly what was being done last year.
We were really trying to solve a problem last year. We came up with a solution last year, as you recall, on Rocky Gap. Part of the problem that I have with this, what the House did, and I understand what they're trying to get at, but as I think, as I'm reading this correctly, and maybe now the chart may not be actually accurate. I have this chart, I think some of you might have had it from last time. But 4 of the 6 rates change. And again, I understand the desire to try to figure out what the right amount is and the equalization between the large casinos and the small casinos. Everybody has a little bit of difference. I was hoping to be able, in this bill, again, to be able to solve the Rocky Gap issue.
You've got the chart's correct. I misspoke from my notes from last time.
So their amount is actually 2% less.
Right, but in relation to where they would be going, it's higher. That 48% is in comparison to what's going on for the first 10 years. After 10 years, are actually slated to go down much further. If you don't pass the bill.
Right. Yeah. Nobody else has that kind of play in their. They're unique.
They are unique. Yes.
And that's why we took them up last year. And that's why we're following that, and that's why, in the broader sense, personally, I'm concerned about changing all the other rates, even though I think it is a sort of a good idea that we eventually get to that. So that's just my personal comment. That's another part of the issues along the way, of the things that came up. Other than the rate changes, then, is there anything else that this bill does?
No, there are the other casino rate changes.
Right. Yeah. As I said, this ends up changing 4 of the 6 rates, and 2 of them end up staying the same.
Yeah.
At least from my calculation. And again, for those of you who are looking at the chart, when you look at it, interestingly, it's the 3 top pieces that add up to show what the casino total share is. The casino share, the VLT ownership and maintenance, and the marketing and capital improvements. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just so people understand what's going on there. All right. Having some conversations with the House on that, and hopefully, I think there's some good stuff here. I don't know that we can accomplish all the stuff in here. There's a lot going on, but that's my hope. I wanted to have that fuller discussion with you all to make sure you understood all the different pieces were going on. Senator Young.
I'm having the shakes a little bit. I'm used to discussing everything for a half hour.
And I've
But,
been here 14 years and we have never discussed.
But I'm enjoying it. Believe me, I'm enjoying it.
What's that?
I say I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask something, and I guess I could ask later, but when we did the Veterans Clubs, why did we go to instant bingos instead of doing the machines in the casinos? Was there a reason? Do you know?
The instant bingos are paper gaming. There isn't a random number generator in there. I think there's a view that there's more at risk with the VLTs, which are essentially slot machines that have a random number generator. The Veterans Clubs with the paper gamings, they're really just a pull tab with a machine that gives you bells and whistles. So it's not a real slot machine, if you will.
Yeah, I know that, but I just know from the clubs, it's a heck of a maintenance problem. It costs more to operate it because of all those worthless piece of papers that come out that just end up on the floor and somebody cleans up and throws them away. I'm just wondering why we did that instead of using the regular machines.
It has a little bit to do with the history of gaming in the state of Maryland. There was a court case at one point in time before we had casinos that said that paper gaming wasn't actually gambling because of the way the insides of the machine worked, because there was a set number of wins on those paper pull tabs that the machine is reading. And so the court case differentiated slot machines differentiated slot machines with random number generators versus these machines that just read paper gaming. And so for years, the clubs were able to have these paper gaming machines when slot machines didn't exist. And so there was this dividing line. And so when the casinos came along, they got the random number generator and the real slot machines. And then the veterans halls still, just because of the history there, stayed with the paper gaming.
Well, I understand your explanation, but it still doesn't make sense.
No. I was just offering how we got here.
Oh, I understand. I'm not being critical of that. It just doesn't make sense from the term for several reasons. One, things I worry about, the ones in the Veterans Clubs have been set up exclusively for one person to win doing machines. Two, it's a lot more work and a lot more mess for the clubs. So in terms of the operation, it doesn't make any sense. Somebody's getting something out of it somewhere. I'm just wondering if anybody knew what that was. But, I mean, if you don't, you don't. That's
For my time.
Yeah.
Okay, Senator Peters.
Okay, so the history is that the Eastern Shore had the slot machines, okay? And everybody wanted them, and there was a prohibition by the previous president. He didn't want any more slot machines because they were unregulated. Reports were done, things happened, there was an audit and investigation. It was a little bit uncomfortable at one point for all the different veterans organizations because they were going in and auditing all of them, and these are volunteers, and so that all cleared up, and then the other post said we still want it. So we put the bill in to have the lottery regulated. And that way a certain percentage came off the top. 10% of the proceeds go to the Veterans Trust Fund, and it was basically regulated. To this day, let's think something's changed, the Eastern Shore is still where the Eastern Shore is. They didn't want to come in. There was incentives created to bring them in under the pull tab tickets. And, you know, for the most part, the post homes where they came in have benefited handsomely and are able to pay bills. That's probably the biggest thing when I go out there is that they're really able to put 5 machines per post, and they're very happy. And so that was the reason, because we had the little pull handle machines in all the Eastern Shore, and the pull tabs were regulated by the Lottery Commission. And we, at the same time, we were discussing the casino bills, the VLT bills, and we didn't want to get that confused with the posts because there would have been a saturation. So that was the other reason we went with the pull tabs. I actually sponsored the MGM bill when it came in. So we didn't want to get too many post homes having VLTs, casinos, because we had a set amount, I think 15,000 machines when we first did the casino bill, and so that was the reason. Although Matt did a pretty good job of
No, thank you for, I had
Kinda
forgotten
bluffing,
that
but yes,
the
okay.
Eastern Shore still had those
they still have them.
holdover, those are, I
still
think, real
do.
slot machines over there.
Yeah.
Is the one that most profits from having the tab machines is the company that operates them. Less goes to the clubs and the state and anybody else. And that's why I care, because they're the company that owns machines is the one that does best with those machines.
Okay, Senator Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my colleague from Prince George's County because I worked with him on some of this. It was sort of a compromise in Western Maryland, or as they like to say, I won't say where it starts, had tip jars, which are similar to the machines, except they come out of machines now. It's kind of the same thing, although some of them would still like to have the VLTs, but this was kind of a compromise. I know the senator from Prince George has worked very hard to get things worked out. I just want to say that, Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of good things in this bill, I think, that came over. And as you know, and you said, we passed this bill 2 years in a row for Rocky Gap, and it didn't get diddly squat anywhere over in the House. So if we don't do something this year, the likelihood of getting it next year is slim to none, in my opinion. And it will really negatively impact Rocky Gap. This bill, as presented, I think helps pretty well everybody else out, particularly the one in Cecil County. I think would benefit a fair amount with their keep, or whatever you want to call it. And Mr. Chairman, with your great negotiating skills, I think you can negotiate something that I think there's a lot of support here on this committee to do something. But I think you can work with them over there to tweak it out. Thank you.
Appreciate the confidence. Hopefully we'll get something good. Okay? All right, that's all I had for today. 6 o'clock, right, is session? 6:15? Okay, very good. Thank you all.